Good evening. Are we ready? Yeah. Good evening. This meeting is now convened at 5:17 p.m. I would like to ask everyone to please silence all cell phones. A quorum of the board members is present in the board auditorium. They are, from my right on the platform, Angela Lamont Flowers, myself, Audrey Momanai, Rick Campo, Rolando Martinez, Paula Mendoza. Board member Jeanette Garza Lindner is joining us via Zoom. I see at least two elected officials with us this evening. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you for being with us tonight. We will now be joined by a member of the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps to lead our pledges. I would ask that board member Angela Flowers please introduce tonight's pledge leader.
Thank you, President Momanai. Cadet Sergeant First Class Brittany Robles has distinguished herself in academics, leadership, and community service throughout her high school years. Cadet Robles is the Battalion Executive Officer for the 20th Army Junior ROTC Battalion at Bel Air High School, where she serves as the school's Cardinal Leadership Crew and has won numerous ribbons and awards. She excels academically, earning a medal from her varsity dance coaches for maintaining all A's. During her time in JROTC, she has volunteered hundreds of hours serving her school and community in events such as helping to plan a field day for special education students, being Mrs. Claus in the yearly Project Santa charity event at Bel Air High School, ushering in many school events, and performing pledge leader duties during daily announcements. Cadet Robles is the commander of the unarmed drill team, member of the archery team, and a member of the Raider team that recently competed in the National Raider competition in Fort Knox, Kentucky. After graduation, Cadet Robles will attend Our Lady of the Lake University, where she will major in political science and join the Air Force ROTC program to receive her commission as an Air Force officer after college. Cadet Robles, thank you.
Please rise for a moment of silent meditation. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and pledge to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask board member Rolando Martinez to read our recognition regarding Veterans Day.
Thank you, Madam President. Whereas members of the armed forces have played a vital role in America's security since the foundation of our nation and deserve our deepest appreciation and respect, and whereas citizens have volunteered to serve in the armed forces in times of both war and peace, serving with honor under the most difficult circumstances. And whereas veterans have demonstrated their devotion to the American people and dedication to advancing freedom through their service in the armed forces via active duty, reserve, or National Guard, and whereas veterans have continued to serve the nation as civilians, volunteering their time and expertise to improve their communities as public servants, mentors, and community leaders, and whereas the Houston Independent School District applauds its many employees and former students who have faithfully and loyally served our country in the armed forces. Now, therefore, the Houston Independent School District and the school board recognize November 11th, 2023 as Veterans Day and urge all Houstonians to pay tribute to and show their appreciation of our military personnel and their efforts to secure peace and freedom around the world. It witness thereof on this 9th day of November, 2023.
Thank you. At this time, we will hear from all agenda speakers, all of our registered speakers, both those who signed up to address specific agenda items and those who signed up for hearing of the community. We are glad you are here, and we look forward to hearing from you. Public comment during school board meetings will only be available to those persons who have signed up to speak prior to the meeting per current protocol. Verbal and other disruptions by persons during school board meetings are not acceptable as they inhibit the board's ability to conduct business and the public's ability to observe those processes. Persons who participate in such behavior will be given one warning, and if the behavior is repeated, they will be asked to leave the meeting. We have 74 registered speakers who will be limited to 1 minute each per board policy, as we have more than 30 people signed up to address the board tonight. We ask that you please stay on topic and refrain from naming individuals, especially students, as their identity is protected under the law, but you may name your own child. I ask that you please respect our procedures and the other speakers and end your comments promptly when your time has expired and the timer rings. If you are signed up to speak via Zoom, we must see you live with your camera on as you speak. Our first item held for registered speakers is item 4, approval to waive board policy, BF local board policies, and approval of proposed revisions to board policy, AE local educational philosophy on first reading. We'll begin with Board of Education trustees Kathy Bluford Daniels and Myrna Guidry. Please approach the microphone. We'd like to acknowledge trustees Bluford Daniels and Guidry for their service to the community. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and welcome.
Have my points ready to stay on point. It never ceases to amaze me the disrespect that some of you have for the people speaking before this body. The board discussion between Board of Manager Campos and Mr. Miles on the number of speakers on 11/2/23 it was disgusting. It was disheartening because this is our building. This is our building that we pay our taxes on. Whether you're vested or not, we are. And so to be disrespectful to us, the public, and the teachers and the students is just incomprehensible. You're a multi-million-dollar man. Why did you sign up for this? If you don't want to waste a little time or allow a little time for people to come up here and speak and have their opinions, you're here. Let's concentrate on the need for early learning centers. That's what we need to concentrate on, not how much time we're going to take, how many speakers we have. Concentrate on the need for early learning centers that are needed in the North and the South so that the children in these areas get an opportunity to jumpstart their education in a learning environment. Teachers' voices are suppressed, have been suppressed, and are airing their concerns about this new environment and not being able to attend school board meetings because you changed the mandatory meeting time from Wednesday to Thursday at 5 o'clock. That's not right, guys. Come on, really, it's not right. Teachers are afraid to speak up and will be leaving the district by the dozens.
Thank you, Ms.
Leaving our
Bluford.
students, and I appreciate that, Ms. Audrey, but our students need a stable environment. That's all they have left a lot of times in some of these districts and in their homes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Ms. Guidry, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, and yes, good evening. I am Myrna Guidry. I am the proud elected trustee of what should still be considered District 9, where excellence resides. I have been pretty quiet throughout this non-democratic process, just trying to keep my community informed about what's going on. But when I saw the agenda for tonight, I was literally outraged. You all created a district of chaos in order for student outcome. Yet, in your student outcome, you're asking for 1% of increase from our children. And you're not even asking for it from the Asian and the white students. Y'all are saying, y'all are okay. Stay right where you are. We have no expectations of our Asian and our white students in reading for the first year. Did you all recognize that? Did you see that? And 1%, and to say it's because of what's going on is truly disingenuous, because we went through a flood, we went through COVID, but not one time did we reduce our expectations of our children. Not one time. And also, can you please take a look at the spending? You know, as Board of Managers, you have a duty to review the spending. And to see $22,000 unchecked dollars spent by Mr. Miles is mind-blowing to me. $500,000 to move employees? Who are we moving? The
Ms. Guidry,
President of
thank
the
you.
United States? Take a look at what he's
Thank you,
doing.
ma'am. Our next speaker is Anita Wadwa. If you'll please come to the microphone. And we're going to keep comments to a minute because we have 74 speakers tonight, and I know everybody would like to be heard and have plenty of time to be heard. Please go ahead, ma'am.
I wanted to speak on the board's educational philosophy, but I didn't see any language in the packet, so I couldn't respond. However, I can speak to the values communicated thus far. Mike Miles has said this is a meeting of the board in public. This is not a public board meeting. Of community activists, he has said most of these people are not educators, they're not in schools. It's no wonder that in a recent survey of 955 HISD educators, only 14.6% will return next year. Last week, Angie asked how the board could ensure that student and community wellness were being prioritized. Here are some ideas. Don't make nurses work on the weekends. Don't write teachers up for using their days or make them keep their doors open with school shootings on the rise. Don't demean the public. Don't complain in public about how many speakers there are. Instead, be grateful to every individual who shows up because we are determined to make sure public education is not completely dismantled. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Suhani Dewart, followed by Diana Candida and Lacey Wolf. Is Suhani Dewart here?
I'm sharing with you what I value as you decide on your educational philosophy. Please don't take away libraries. If you took my library away, you're taking away something from my entire school, especially students who live far away from a library or don't have time to go there. Kids who have trouble reading could benefit from having lots of books to read, but you're taking those away. Instead, that space would be used for punishment, which they may not even need. Because of one single school and an entire group of 274, our district got taken over. After I graduate from elementary, I want the kids in pre-K and kinder to have the same experience I had for my 6 years at my current school, but that experience may change because of this takeover. You're taking away the rights of teachers and students who want, need, and deserve to have or teach the education they want. I am an 11-year-old fifth grader at Condit Elementary. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Diana Candida, followed by Lacey Wolf, Patrice Wright, and then Gabriela Estrada. Ms. Candida, please go ahead.
My name is Diana Candida. I'm a concerned parent here to speak about your educational philosophy failures. Item number 4. The TEA takeover has resulted in greater inequality in terms of access to an effective and personalized education, overemphasis on test prep instead of fostering curiosity, critical thinking, and problem solving, hostile environments for students and employees. This has far-reaching effects now and into the future. A university educator shared that trainee teachers who had field placements in various school districts claimed to class with horror stories about HISD elementary schools. She said, "The class collectively, to my deep sorrow, came away with not wanting to enter the HISD teaching workforce. My heart sank as our community will not be able to benefit from their knowledge if they go somewhere else." Board members, it's time to change what you're doing. Listen to us. Listen. We will keep fighting until you fire Mike Miles.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lacey Wolf. Is Ms. Wolf here? Ms. Wolf? No. Patrice Wright, followed by Gabriela Estrada, and then Sarah Terrell. Patrice Wright, is she here? No. Ms. Estrada? Gabriela Estrada? Are you Ms. Estrada? Yes. Okay. Followed by Sarah Terrell, and then J. Allison Chapin, and then Melinda Gleghorn, excuse me. Ms. Estrada, please go ahead.
My name is Gabby Estrada, and my sister, Christina Saldivar, is the librarian at Eastwood Academy. With a master's degree in library science, she is also the National Honor Society sponsor, yearbook advisor, and a creative writing and AP teacher. For the last 18 years, she's been an elite, award-winning educator, including being named 2009 Houston Area and HISD ESL Teacher of the Year and a semifinalist at the state level. She's also been named among the top 25 emerging leaders in Houston by a national publication and Woman of the Year for Education by a community-based magazine. She's a beloved community leader whose students have gone to the Ivy League with her guidance. She's registered hundreds of students to vote and was recognized by Harris County as a Deputy Voter Registrar of the Month. Her selflessness and leadership shined when she rounded up a team to help educators whose homes were flooded during Harvey. This is my sister, the Eastwood Academy librarian. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is Ms. Terrell here? Ms. Terrell, followed by J. Allison Chapin, and Melinda Gleghorn. Ma'am, please go ahead.
What board of directors would give its new CEO a blank check and allow him to fill it out for $250 million? Who would allow the internal audit section that answers the fraud hotline and conducts the investigations to report to the CEO and not to the board? Who would allow the new CEO to set his own improvement goals at a measly 1%? What board of a company or a nonprofit would do any of this? They are all the opposite of normal business practices, not best business practices, just normal ones. When asked why he will barely impact the education gap in even 5 years, Miles whined that he should be graded on a curve. If we do not achieve even 15 points improvement in that time, if we do improve 15 points in that time, we will have done what no one else has done. Big talk about the culture of high expectations, and you only demand 1% from yourselves.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's not a goal. That is just statistical noise.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is J. Allison Chapin. Is Ms. Chapin here? No. Our next speaker registered is Melinda Gleghorn. Is she here? Good evening. Ms. Gleghorn?
Yes, my
Okay.
name's Melinda Gleghorn, and I'm a concerned community member. And I'm here tonight with a little bit different take on this, I believe, because I've spent most of my life around educators, around leaders in their field, around people like my uncle, Dr. Bill R. Reeves, who impacted this state. My mother, Dr. Sue Reeves Gleghorn, who has a list of accomplishments behind her name in the field of education that is longer than we have time for here. And I will tell you that the things that I have seen and heard in this room and come out of the mouths of people who do not deserve to be in the same room with those people is appalling to me. The lack of respect is stunning. And when I hear things like, what does a teacher, anyone can teach if they follow a script. Go into a restaurant, one of Houston's fine restaurants, and say, you know what?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
It's a disgrace to the science.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Our next speakers on this topic are registered to address the board via Zoom. Ms. Smith, please identify and admit our speakers.
Ms. Benzon, please turn your camera on and you may begin.
Hi, my name is Dr. Maria Benzon, and I'm speaking on item 4. The new vision states, quote, HISD empowers students to become critical thinkers, visionary leaders, and active contributors in their community, fostering a pathway to success for limitless opportunities in a competitive global landscape. Yes, critical thinkers. Kids should do projects, research topics, collaborate with others, and debate their ideas. Yes, visionary leaders. Students look to teachers as leaders who shape understanding of the world through lessons that are relevant to their lived experiences and show them possibilities. Students look to community leaders who see injustices and advocate for changes. And yes, active contributors in their communities, like at Eastwood Academy, and like many students speaking tonight. What a bold statement, a bold vision. Unfortunately, it seems delusional. At a time when teachers are being reassigned and terminated weekly, it's kids to feel empowered when their teachers change abruptly. I urge you to listen
Ms.
to the
Benzon,
community and
would you put Adita Sage Bittner on,
support
please?
our teachers and parents.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're on.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Adita Sage Bittner, and I am a fourth grader at Conda Elementary. I want to remind you that kids are more than a test score. At my school, we do fun things like chorus, Odyssey of the Mind, and UIL. On Monday mornings before school, kids can play an instrument in the cafeteria or the multipurpose room. Many of my friends take private lessons in piano, cello, and violin. I am fortunate to go to a school with parents who have the time and money to invest in their children's extracurricular activities. However, not all kids are as fortunate. I think at my school we have a lot of advantages which can translate to higher test scores. And I'm not saying that other kids can't improve. I just think it's way harder. Sometimes the smartest kids don't shine on standard tests because they don't have standard minds. Yes, kids are more than their test scores. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Williams, you may begin.
Michelle Williams, Houston Education Association. I'm speaking on DOI. I just want to point out that the superintendents that the DOI plan talks about, Dr. Goffney, Dr. Mays, Dr. Hinojosa, are all career educators with stellar track records. Who does HISD have at the helm? Mr. Miles, who believes that copyrighted strategies are the key to outcomes. He wants to change PD. However, none of the systems that he has put in place are research-based or anything. They're what he believes. So how can we trust him? We need T-Test to oversee Mr. Miles and all of this stuff that he has put in place, because that is research-based and backed by Laurel Milken and the Milken Foundation, who has over 20 years of experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Allen, please turn your camera on. You may begin. Ms. Lucretia Allen, you may begin.
Ma'am, please go ahead. Ms. Allen, can you hear us? Please go ahead.
I had the opportunity to read the District of Innovation Plan. It's disheartening to witness the lack of transparency in the school district's approach, especially when the well-being of both teachers and students is at stake. As the district DOI plan is exploring the same strategies from neighboring states like Louisiana, which is 46 in the nation for education, it could shed light on the ineffectiveness of the DOI strategy. The disconnect between the district's stated priority and the proposed actions, such as hiring uncertified teachers and eliminating basic tools like libraries and crayons, raise concerns about the true intention behind these decisions. To parents, advocating for transparency and accountability is crucial for the betterment of the school environment.
Thank you, ma'am.
Lacey Wolf has joined in person for this item.
Who?
Lacey Wolf.
Oh, Lacey Wolf from earlier? Okay.
Thank you
Mr.
for
Wolf,
the
go ahead.
opportunity. Sorry that traffic was horrible. I am the president of the Gulf Coast Area Labor Federation. We represent 95 labor unions, including the Houston Federation of Teachers. I'm a father and a grandfather, a former coach and teacher as well as a mechanical insulator. Education is very important to me and my labor brothers and sisters. Many of us have children in Houston ISD. My children have all achieved great jobs, their bachelor's and a master's degree as results of an HISD education. The Chronicle reported that nurses are being required to work on weekends with no pay. What does this have to do with TEA criteria? This Board of Managers is terminating teachers for taking sick days that they are legally entitled to. Come try to do that on a construction job and see where that gets you. On behalf of all the labor unions, what you're doing is bad for the kids, bad for teachers, and for our city. I want to remind you that you are not a form of government of the people, nor were you chosen by the people, and you definitely are not of the people.
Emily, is Esteban Reyes here? Esteban Reyes, who's, no, okay. Our next item held for registered speakers is item 9, approval of proposed deletion of board policy CKE local safety program risk management security personnel and a proposed establishment of board policy CKEA local security personnel commission peace officers for first reading. Will Iveta Gashparova please come to the microphone? Ma'am, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Eve, and I'm a concerned community member as well as a police and prison abolitionist. I'm speaking on item 9 because I don't trust Mike Miles, who acts with total impunity towards the law, to be able to wield state-sanctioned violence as another means to terrorize those under his tyrannical control. Before you vote, please listen to a teacher who is at a non-NES school and is fearful of speaking out. A teacher from another school district came to work at our school and says, "Working under Miles feels like walking on eggshells. I find myself in a high state of anxiety. There is much uncertainty, and things like rules and procedures change constantly. I believe that his administration is doing many things that are illegal, such as penalties for using the time off that we're entitled to. In a nutshell, it feels like working under a tyrant." Thank you.
Our next item held for registered speakers is item 14, approval of contract renewal between Westbury High School and Harris County Protective Services for children and adults for the Community Youth Services Program. Will Kelly Alexander please come to the microphone? The speaker is also registered for item 16. Is Kelly Alexander here? Ms. Alexander, please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Alexander. I am a parent and a product of HISD. I came from the area where my mother had to use another address to get me into HISD, and how ironic it is now that many parents are using addresses to get their children out of HISD. The teachers at my child's school are overworked, stressed out. The curriculum that you send home is insulting for the teachers to teach and is insulting to my child. Would you want your children reading this and trying to do this? Because I don't want mine doing it. You seem like a tyrant, as was mentioned before. We didn't ask for this. Please just let us be. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item held for registered speakers is item 15, approval of fall 2023 class size waiver request. We'll begin with speakers registered to address the board in the auditorium. Will Daniel Santos please come to the microphone? Mr. Santos.
Madam President, after
Yes.
Mr. Santos, can we go back to Verinder Wadwa from the first item? Verinder is arrived.
Someone's arrived? Okay. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Daniel Santos, Vice President of the Houston Federation of Teachers, and I rise to speak on item 15. Class size waivers harm kids. There is little empirical basis to justify them. Research from the University of Colorado in 2016 concludes convincingly that decreasing the student-teacher ratio improves student achievement. Instead of helping kids, HISD is rushing to not only request class size waivers this year, but to embed them long-term as part of a poisonous District of Innovation plan a plan crafted by a committee with 0 teachers and by amateurs with 0 experience in public education policy. It is very clear tonight, the state takeover of HISD has never been about helping kids. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Emily, Ms. Wadwa already did speak. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Board of Managers and Superintendent Miles. I want to contribute to your discussion of educational philosophy as a grandmother of 2 HISD students and as an educator myself. We're a family of teachers sitting right there. My daughter, Anita Wadwa, and a husband who has been a professor for 4 decades. We chose teaching because it's a noble profession, yet least respected and very challenging. It's my understanding that teachers are being restricted from taking the paid time off they have rightfully earned. A district spokesperson said, we need every teacher to be present every day or they lose jobs. However, if you replace these teachers with uncertified teachers, they'll struggle to teach, and the vicious cycle will continue, resulting in negative impact on students' learning and schools' future. I hope you'll focus in your education philosophy to honor teachers by ways of retaining them and enticing them with love, not fear. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Linda Murray. Is Linda Murray here? I understand Ms. Casada is via Zoom, is that right? Okay, yes, okay. So Ms. Murray, is Ms. Murray here? Oh, yes, ma'am, okay.
Classroom size, I don't know how you waded through or evaded all of the research on keeping it small, particularly as little as they are. Keep it little. But I remember something that would happen to me every year in public school. I'm getting married, they'd say. And I say, really? You know, I've been a mama. I was a teenage parent. I'm tired of being a mama. But you have 2 teenage daughters. This man has just come out of jail. He is not somebody that you want to put with your 14 and 15-year-old, honey. But I'm in love, and that's okay. They're okay with it. They're not going to be okay with it. You're not, the devastation that's going to happen, nobody needs a dirty mind. It's happening, and it happens every day to our children. Just like, I'm going to take over a district. What you taking over a district for? What are you going to do? What do you have to put in place? Leave them alone. You need to be fired.
Is Ms. Casada by Zoom or no? No, okay. Our next item held for registered speakers is item 16, consideration and approval of minutes from previous meetings. Will Remy Smith please come to the microphone, followed by Micah Gabay, Maria Mendez, Melanie Cantu, Drapon or Drapin Allen. Is Mr. or Mrs. Smith here? Remy Smith? No. Okay, is Micah Gabay here? No. Maria Mendez? Ms. Mendez? No. Melanie Cantu? Ms. Cantu? Drapon or Drapon Allen? No? Teresa Carr? Ms. Carr here? Okay, Ms. Carr will be followed by Amy Kirshen, and then Dr. Ann McCoy, followed by Ruth Kravitz. Please go ahead.
On September 15th, 3 weeks into the school year, I was removed from my classroom at Project Chrysalis Middle School as a 6th grade science teacher. This was my 2nd year at Chrysalis, my 4th year with HISD, my 7th year as a traditional educator, and my 14th year as an education service member. Starting at 13, my entire career has been focused on educational child care. I have taught children, my peers, and adults in a variety of contents and settings. I have a BA in science education, an MA in English education, and am pursuing a DA in education psychology. I have nearly 100 hours of continuing professional education credits in addition to district-required professional development. These hours include teaching literacy-infused science and applied mathematics through Texas A&M and Rice University, respectively. I have dedicated my heart, my mind, and my free time to becoming the best educator I can be for the sake of future generations. You claim to have the best interests of children in mind, yet you allow the removal of exceptional educators from the classroom based on sham investigations, illegal expectations, and lies. You have made an egregious mistake.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Amy Kirshen. Is Ms. Kirshen here?
Madam President?
Amy Kirshen? Yes, ma'am.
Madam President,
Followed by-
Michelle Arnold has joined.
Okay. Just noting that Michelle Arnold is here via Zoom. Thank you. Ms. Kirshen, please go ahead.
Yes, hi. Kindergarten. It is derived from German, a word that means literally children of the garden or guardian of children. I'm lucky enough to have pre-K students that I used to teach 2 years ago. Now they moved me up to first, and I'm super excited to teach them to learn how to read. However, in the curriculum that was designed was 2 grade levels above our grade level, and we've had to experience this trial of error. I've asked to remove some of the sections. I was told from our principal that we're not allowed to dissect the curriculum or customize it to our student need, and therefore I'm not able to teach my children to read. I do believe that their best interest is reading before any other thing so that they can acquire life skills. Otherwise, they'll become illiterate in this non-educated student system that we're currently in. We have to protect our children, and remember the definition of kindergarten are guardians because we are their campus guardians.
Our next speaker is Dr. Ann McCoy. Dr. McCoy? No? Ruth Kravitz? Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
Good evening. Education reform should begin by imagining schools that students want to attend and teachers want to teach in. But your reform ideas are more suited for a dystopian novel than real life. And behind the curtain, Good Reason Houston is pulling the strings, choosing the DAC members, and their paid consultants are driving the takeover after their $3 million in-kind donation in June. So where was Good Reason Houston before the takeover? Their most recently available 990 shows that Good Reason Houston declared about $10 million in revenue and $13 million in gross assets in 2020. They spent $4 million on staff compensation and only $1.6 million in grants to help Houston school children, $900,000 to area charters, $650 to support 7 other school districts, but only $28,000 to help Houston ISD school children. That's 1% of the revenue to help our children. So the real question is, since this takeover is not helping our kids, who is it helping?
Thank you, ma'am. Our last item held for registered speakers is closed session B, consider and approve proposed appointments, reassignments, proposed terminations, suspensions, contract lengths, proposed non-renewals, renewals, and resignations, retirements of personnel, including teachers, assistant principals, chief officers, assistant superintendents, executive officers, and other administrators, and if necessary, approve waiver and release and compromise agreements. Will Lane Harper please come to the microphone? Our next speaker on this topic is Melissa Yarbrough, who I believe is via Zoom. Is Lane Harper here? Yes, ma'am. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Lane, and I'm a senior at Eastwood Academy High School. I am ranked 7 in my class of 98. My school ranked 6th in Houston. Though me and my peers share a culture of academic excellence, as many other HISD students do, your ridiculous changes do anything but promote that. How does it help us to always have the lights on, even when we can't see the board? How does it help us to keep our teachers on edge, afraid for their jobs? And how does it help us to fire slews of staff with no plan to immediately fill their roles? How can you expect higher performance after betraying an entire school? I want you to hear this from a student, just one of the hundreds of thousands of children you impact with these policies. I am here on behalf of my teachers and all of those students in HISD who are at home doing homework instead of telling you how badly you're failing them. I suggest a simple solution to start. Restore the democratically elected board chosen by this community to represent us. You don't understand us or what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next is Ms. Yarborough via Zoom.
Ms.
Hi,
Yarborough?
thank you.
Please begin.
Tonight, you're deciding whether to terminate a teacher from Pew who has been there for 26 years and has been Teacher of the Year, Ms. Jane. The Pew community does not want you to terminate her. HISD core value number 2 is that effective teachers make the most difference in student academic performance. But I believe that the superintendent is interpreting this backwards because effective doesn't mean not human. We are all human, and we are all either going to be in a similar situation as Miss Jane, who just had to take care of a sick family member and is now being terminated for it. Either we've been in that situation or we will be one day. And the thing is, Miss Jane is effective. Miss Jane does make the biggest difference for her students' academic performance. And if you take her away, the students are going to suffer. If you take her away, you can't guarantee that the person who replaces her doesn't also need an emergency time off at some point. Last week, I told you that you're going to run out of replacements. But let me correct that. You're going to run out of effective replacements.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll now hear from speakers who registered for hearing of the community. Will Ashlyn Morton please come to the microphone? This speaker will be followed by Sophie Grace Rojas. Ashlyn Morton? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you to all of you who did not make a comment to check on the Lamar students after the school shooting, after the bomb threat today. My name is Ashlyn Morton, the campus organizer for Deeds Not Words, and I'm here to share my sheer disappointment at the school district as a whole. I'm using my voice to advocate for my teachers, something they could do for themselves if you were not silencing them. The people who I'm supposed to look up to and those who are supposed to educate me are scared to come to work every single day. Our educators' stress levels are at an all-time high since the HISD takeover. They have little to no control over how they teach their classes. They are being micromanaged at every waking moment of the day. My once lively and enjoyable classroom has become a battleground for these new policies. With the board firing teachers along with admin on campus, you should trust your teachers enough to give them the autonomy over their own classrooms. If you want to implement these rules, they must apply to all higher-ups and authorities, not just teachers. It is essential to fairness and accountability in our education system. Teachers should not bear the burden alone. Everyone involved in the education process should share this responsibility equally. Let's work together.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sophie Grace Rojas. Is Sophie Grace Rojas here? She's a child, right? Student? Okay. Our next speaker is Bridget Murray, followed by Laura Padilla, Raymond Leonard, Rosalinda Rodriguez. Will Ms. Murray please come to the microphone? And then if the other folks whose names I just read off, Ms. Padilla, Mr. Leonard, and Mrs. Rodriguez, if you don't mind kind of queuing up, that would help us. Thank you very much. Ms. Murray, please go ahead.
Hello. I'm here on an off-agenda item. I want to thank you all for this opportunity to bring this matter to your attention. I'm requesting assistance to expedite the signing and filing of documents in this matter so that Texas Commission on Environmental Quality can proceed with a project to install a federal regulated monitor at Pleasantville Elementary School located at 1431 Gilhorn Street. My interest is in this matter. I'm representing the community and our nonprofit organization, Achieving Community Tasks Successfully. X has been air monitoring in the community since 2019. TCEQ recommended placing a federal regulated monitor in the community back in 2021. EPA approved it. We are a landlocked community and options for placement of the monitor was limited. HISD previous administration approved the installation prior to the TEA takeover. Based on this HISD approval, TCEQ selected a contractor through their RFP process. The The work now has been stopped, waiting for City of Houston permitting form to be signed by the property owner.
Thank you, ma'am.
We're just trying to get a monitor to monitor, and we're also benefiting from being that we even got support from the port. So thank you, Mr. Campo.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Laura Padilla, followed by Raymond Leonard, Rosalinda Rodriguez, and then Wesley Tabb. Ms. Padilla? Is Ms. Padilla here? No? Raymond Leonard? Mr. Leonard here? Rosalinda Rodriguez? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Hi, I am Rosalinda Rodriguez, parent to a senior at Eastwood Academy. I am here today because I have talked to educators about how principals and staff are being removed in HISD. These changes affect our children in drastic ways and leave parents confused and frustrated. At Eastwood Academy, the students no longer have their principal, librarian, history teacher, and counselor. The person serving as a counselor is limited to helping our students only once a week. Are our students worth a fifth of a counselor? HIC is limiting the resources for our kids at Eastwood, and parents and students are in the dark. I would like to see HISD encourage more involvement and input from parents before changes occur. I would like to see HISD listen to our concerns before or even after decisions are made. Parents want to support their children and the school. How can we do that when we don't even know what is happening? Please do not forget these are our children. They do not need this takeover. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Wesley Taff. Wesley Taff, followed by Michelle Blackwell, Shauna Chen, Molly Cook. Is Wesley Taff here? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
It's a shame what is happening in our school system. To a blatant disrespect of teachers and treat them like they are disposable pieces of trash, along with the teachers being in constant fear of losing their jobs, the loss of libraries where kids will come to study and be by themselves, read books, and was furthermore a safe haven for students and teachers alike. Question: are you aware that these teachers have lives too, and it's more stressful for them to teach the new generation of kids and keep them on track? Hell, they don't even get paid good enough money for their job, which is a shame because they teach children what is right from wrong and how to go about it in this world as an adult. But they come every single day to teach. Why? Because they love their job of teaching. But they can't fully embrace their job and have to look over the shoulder because of fear of being unfairly fired. These teachers are more worried about keeping their jobs and teaching and doing what they love. To add on, firing teachers, why? Because of a phone is disgraceful. Let's be honest, trying to stop kids from getting on their phone is wishful thinking because we are in an age of digital and but getting a teacher fired for it is insane. And suspending kids, which is keeping them out of school even more, is just plain exercising your power. Just because you can, as a graduating senior, I am not doing this for myself. I am doing this for kids who have to deal with this new school system. Because no kid should be under this type
Thank you.
of embarrassment.
Thank you, Mr. Taff. Our next speaker, Michelle Blackwell. Our next speaker is Michelle Blackwell, followed by Shauna Chen and Molly Cook. Is Michelle Blackwell here? Ms. Blackwell? Please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Ms. Blackwell, and I come here this evening to talk about, I noticed that some of the HISD schools are experiencing low student enrollment, experiencing also low parent involvement, and I'm come here tonight to offer a solution. The solution I have for that is I would like to become a recruiter, not just a recruiter, but an appointed recruiter, a paid recruiter. Try to get in there and try to help turn around the low student enrollment, trying to turn around getting parents involved in the public schools, trying to get in there and help. I do have faith in public schools. I volunteered in a lot of schools. So this time, just letting you know, I'm out looking for work, and I just feel like my talent could be an asset to, it'd be a great opportunity for me to try to get in there and try to help these HISD schools. So thank you for taking this in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next
And
speaker is
President,
Shauna Chen.
We have a group of students who have arrived for the agenda speaker item.
Oh,
starting with Remy Smith.
Who? Hold on.
Remy Smith, number 16.
Okay, 1 second. 1 second. Shauna Chen, I think I called out. Are you Shauna Chen? Okay, let's let her go ahead, please, and then we'll swap back. Please go ahead.
Hello, board. I'm not a ma'am. My name is Thunder, but you wouldn't know that because the institution that you allegedly represent would not acknowledge my chosen name. I know you don't care about my dysphoria, but I digress. I'm here to represent an HISD teacher who is afraid to speak here due to your fear-mongering and your evidence retaliation. I am observed by an administrator every day, but observations are only as useful as the reflection and pivots that follow. I do not worry that I'm a bad teacher, but I worry for new teachers who are being told through low-scoring spot observations that they are bad. Teachers do not have enough time to actually teach because we're always anticipating visits. We should be focused on what kids need to learn. In addition, we're getting points taken off even if one student has a phone out. However, I cannot fight an individual student over a phone when there are 30 other students in the room complying and waiting for instruction. Please reconsider your coaching cycle to have more depth and less micromanagement. Thank you. I yield my time.
Okay, I think we got Remy, is that right? We're gonna go back. Remy Smith, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Hello, my name is Remy Smith. I'm one of the HISD students. I would like to use this time to shine light on the unfair treatment of our non-English speaking students. I have observed many Spanish speaking students failing and are not participating in class. Many teachers ignore the language barrier and factor it down to they aren't doing the work or they're not listening. Simply, the kids do not understand what is going on, and instead of putting in a bit of effort to find a translator, many teachers fail them without a second thought. Another topic I would like to bring up really quickly is the treatment of our special needs students. I have observed many special needs children at our schools yell and mishandle these children like they're rag dolls, and special needs or not, all of us should be treated human, and these special needs teachers have no patience and talk to these children like they're less than. And I believe we can fix this problem by having more access to translators and hire patient special needs teachers.
Thank you.
For your time.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, Ms. Smith, are we going on this slide? Our next speaker is Micah Gabay. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Micah Gabay, speaking on behalf of HISD students, and today I would like to talk about the phone policy we have at our schools and how they treat the students due to this policy. First, I would like to mention about this policy is that students are not to have their phones out during instructional time, which most students don't have a problem with. The main problem students have is that teachers have taken this policy and corrupted it by harshly enforcing it. This rule is somehow also being enforced in the hallways, but we are not under any kind of instruction during that walking period, so I'm not sure how phones will be a problem. And now our principal has added onto this corruption by implementing a rule that if a teacher sees a student on their phone at any time other than lunch, they are to snatch on site. This is not okay. I want to be clear when I say that the NES program being implemented is a violation of our rights. We should not be treated as inmates when we are children.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Maria Mendez. Ms. Mendez here? Yes. Okay, and then Melanie Cantu and Drepon Allen, if they're here. Ms. Mendez, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Mendez. I am here on behalf of the students in HISD. I came to speak about the cameras and turning our libraries into detention centers. The cameras are very invasive and interfering. I feel like we have no privacy. Half of us students dislike the use of a camera in class. And I quote, "It's used for us if we miss a lesson. Then why is the camera on us and not the teacher or the whiteboard? Our library should be a place where we can read and educate ourselves more. But instead, they want to put the bad and trouble kids in there as a punishment. You're basically telling us that we are in prison. We're kids at the end of the day. We shouldn't feel like we committed a crime. I believe we can be trusted to complete our work without the use of a camera, that are monitoring our every move, making us feel unsafe." That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Melanie Cantu? Is Melanie Cantu here? And then is Drepon Allen here? Okay, great. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Melanie, and I am an HISD student who has been impacted by the new education system. I want to speak on the bathroom policy that has been put into place where students have 9 bathroom passes a semester. It is illegal to give us a certain amount of passes for the bathroom, and it's also a violation of our basic human rights. Many of our students have medical conditions of which they have no control over, not to mention young women who menstruate once a month. There is also a 15-15 rule where students are unable to use the bathroom for the first and last 15 minutes of class. A student shouldn't be told when they can and can't go to the restroom regardless of their situation. It's getting to a point where students have to walk out of the classroom due to the severity of their emergency. Another thing I want to mention are the cones we have to take with us to use the restroom. This is a health hazard and also a very unsanitary and dehumanizing thing to do to our students. Many viruses and different diseases are spreading like wildfire in the world right now, and having cones that we physically have to take with us into the restroom is not the best option. Not to mention students throw the cones around, others steal them, while some place the cones on their heads while walking down the hallway. I believe that we can do better for our students. We should not be asking for the bare minimum.
Thank you. Drapon Allen. Mr. Allen, followed by Lane Harper, Ashlyn Morton, and Sophie Grace Rojas, if she's here. Mr. Allen, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Drapon Allen. I'm a student zoned to a new education system in high school. Ever since the TA takeover, other students have felt uncomfortable in our learning environment under imposed new rules and unnecessary policies. Teachers and administrators take electronic devices, not to mention, I can't have earbuds during passing period, which I used to calm my anxiety. My peers and classmates have had instances where they've gotten their phone taken away during times they had an emergency, so they had to deal with consequences of that. They weren't doing anything distracting. To make matters worse, we have had staff and administrators put in place that we are unfamiliar, that we don't seem interested in fostering positive relationships with us. It's a change that affects us more than you think. We have had circumstances we had to carry a cone with 9 bathroom passes for that semester. I can't make that make sense, but I want Mike Miles to discontinue these ridiculous policies, lower paraphrase, and ask us what we need and telling us.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is Lane Harper?
Madam
Lane-
President, Lane Harper and Ashlyn Morton already spoke
Okay.
earlier.
There you
Dr.
go.
Ann McCoy has joined us for item 16 as well. Dr. Ann McCoy, agenda speaker for 16.
Where is Dr. Ann McCoy? Is she here? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
I'm speaking to you on item 16. Please listen to a nurse who is afraid of speaking for fear of reprisals. I have over 1,000 students at my school. I have diabetic and asthmatic students who need medication regularly and others who need medication through G-tubes. Furthermore, I see at least 35 students daily for stomach aches, fevers, and injuries on campus. I have a principal who has never responded to my emails. He does not acknowledge me, much less value the work that I do to keep students healthy and safe. Since August, I have never taken an official lunch break, nor left work before 6 p.m. in order to follow up on children's needs and required paperwork. Many nights the work is so much that I am compelled to keep working when I get home. I ask that you stop taking advantage of nurses. Support us. Treat us with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We're back to hearing of the community. Okay. Our next speaker is Molly Cook, followed by Raja Sandor, and then Christy Brewster, Marina Rodriguez. Ms. Cook, are you here? No? Okay. Raja Sandor? No? Christy Brewster? No?
Yes, Christy Brewster right here.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Christy Michelle Brewster, retired school nurse, certified. I'm a witness for the Houston community, and previous comments have already dipped into my statement. Words that a lot of teachers, students, and even some parents have said about the climate in this school district right now. Disrespectful. Apparently, you have a MASA overseer classroom observation concept, where they're demeaning the teachers in the presence of the children. Stressful, already mentioned. People earn their PTO, but they got to get prior approval to take time off, to even have chemo treatments or see about a sick family member. Chaos, where teachers are given inappropriate lessons, erroneous lessons, incomplete lessons, and I even had a fourth grader tell me that it's just a hot mess. These people are humans. They're not Skinner rats. They're not Pavlov's dogs. We need respectful, safe environment for optimal learning, since you said you want to increase student outcomes.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Marina Rodriguez. Marina Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez. And she'll be followed by Alma Vasquez, Stacy Hunter, Debbie Jane, and Elizabeth Bazin. Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
I saw a sign outside when I first walked into the building that says learning has no limits in HISD. But however, with the recent micromanaging and everything going on, I feel that the principal's actions at our school speak otherwise. I have concerns about our principal's actions during a recent event where she instructed children to throw away items that had been purchased by students and by parents, as well as by volunteers. And she's been singling out the classroom. When questioned, she shifted the blame to another department that sponsored the event. Additionally, my child and others in the classroom feel intimidated by her strict policies and her frequent classroom presence, particularly regarding bathroom usage. My child is holding in their bathroom needs out of fear and potentially leading to health issues. She has also made derogatory comments about my child's teacher, claiming she knows how to run the classroom better by flaunting her more extensive experience. I believe these concerns need to be addressed for the well-being of the students and the school's and faculty's reputation.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Alma Vasquez. Ms. Vasquez, is she here? Ms. Vasquez, no. Stacy Hunter, Ms. Hunter, Mr. Hunter. Sorry about that.
Hello, I'm speaking in place of a nurse who decided not to speak for fear of like so many others, would be fired for coming here talking. Nurses are a critical part of having a safe school. Nurses were required to attend 7-hour immunization clinics on Saturdays, November 4th and 11th, for 14 hours of work. Nurses would not be paid. Many emails stated that attendance was a district mandate, wording changed to nurses being volunteers. But attendance was mandatory if principals required it and still was not paid. I'm asking the Board of Managers to please stop the mistreatment of nurses, otherwise they will leave the district. We need leaders who are able to lead without daily threats. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Debbie Jane, followed by Elizabeth Bazin, followed by Tony Martinez. Is Debbie Jane here? Debbie Jane? No. Elizabeth Bazin? Is that you, ma'am? Yes. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Bazan. I'm a teacher from Bonham Elementary School. I've been an educator for 42 years, 37 of them right here in HISD. I've been nominated Teacher of the Year 4 times and was VIPS coordinator at 2 schools. I was also chosen as VIPS coordinator of the year in 1989. Over the span of 20 years, I have been an ESL teacher for pre-K, kinder, 1st, and 5th grade. During this time, I thoroughly enjoyed working with our refugee students from Africa, Afghanistan, and many other countries as well. I have been a PE teacher for 15 years. For over 21 years, many HISD students have been inspired by my coaching track and field in HISD and in city clubs as well, taking them as far as the Junior Olympics. I have also inspired athletes in the sports of soccer, where I have been teaching at the elementary level for over 20 years. This is my final year in HISD. I would like you to recognize that I and other teachers who have given our blood, sweat, and tears to this district while educating our students and preparing them for life. I have made a difference in many lives. I am a certified teacher. My name is Elizabeth Bazan.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Tony Martinez. Mr. Martinez. Tony Martinez, followed by Brandy Dowda, Selena Manzano, Savant Moore, and then Christine McDaniel. Is Mr. Martinez here? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Hello.
My name is Elu Little Martinez. I'm from Eastwood Academy, and I am one of the members who led the walkout at Eastwood Academy. You have heard our grievances, and you have heard our proposed solutions, and frankly, none of you seem enthused. Look me in the eye and tell me that you are doing what's best for your students. All of you, not just you, Mr. Miles, but all of you. Look me in the eye and tell me you are truly taking care of our students, because I personally do not believe that you are. You are no longer doing your job. I request that you all pay attention to us. We know what we want. We are asking you to simply be there for us, to do what's right for our students. Public education is the backbone of Houston.
That's right.
We need public education, and you are destroying it. All of you. So please, all of you, just do what's best for our students.
Thank you. Is Brandy Dowda here? Brandy Dowda? Yes, ma'am. Okay, followed by Selena Manzano, Savant Moore, Christine McDaniel, and then Jessica Campos. Ms. Dowda, please go ahead.
Did you receive the handouts I submitted?
No.
That's all right. I can continue. I am Brandy Dowda, a teacher librarian and a third-generation educator. I had sent ahead 2 documents. One is a poverty map of HISD overlaid with the NESA schools that lost their library programs. The other is the circulation stats for book checkouts for this school year. You repeatedly state that students in the NESA schools can still borrow books and have access to libraries. However, school patrons and community members how are school patrons and community members accessing and being supported in the use of these resources? Numbers don't lie. The graph provided, combined with the poverty map, tells the story of 2 different HISDs. Countless studies have demonstrated the positive impact of complete school library programs on student achievement, including test scores. This impact is even higher in impoverished schools that serve minority students. Separate is not equal.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Selena Manzano. Ms. Manzano.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Selena Manzano.
My name is Selena Manzano.
Yes, please go ahead.
Quiero hablar a las personas que están enfrente que tengan un corazón.
I want to speak to all these people that I have. I hope that they have a heart.
Vengo a hablar por una maestra de mi escuela, Pew Elementary.
I'm coming to speak on behalf of a teacher in my school, Pure Elementary.
La señora Jane.
Mrs. James.
26 años siendo maestra.
26 years, she's been a teacher.
Y nada más por cuidar a un familiar, hoy está su carrera en el limbo.
And only because she has to take care of a family member, her career is in limbo.
Nos ha dicho Mr. Miles que usted es una persona que no tolera el bullying.
Mr. Mario has told us that she's a person that does not tolerate bullying.
Y lo ha hecho con nuestros maestros.
And she has follow up with our teachers.
Nuestros maestros sufren.
Our teachers are suffering.
Porque preparan muchas veces sus clases por muchas horas.
There's been preparing their classes, the lessons for many, many hours.
Y en un momento después les dicen, no, vamos a cambiar a otro tema.
And all of a sudden they say, no, we're going to switch the topic.
Eso es traumante para ellos y para nuestros niños.
This is traumatizing for them and for our children.
Por favor, quiero tocar el corazón de esta mesa.
Please, I want to appeal to your hearts.
Por favor, conserven a maestros de vocación.
Please, try to keep teachers that have a vocational desire.
Nuestros niños merecen maestros así.
Our children deserve this type of teachers.
Maestros que lleguen cada mañana a enseñarles con ese entusiasmo. teachers that want to come every morning to teach with this.
Thank you. Gracias. Our next speaker is Savant Moore. Mr. Moore.
Good evening. How y'all doing? For the next time, can you please make sure that every board of managers is here? Like, respect the people. I'm a truck driver, but I was driving in the rain all the way from Austin. But I took the time, I respect the individual to take a shower, get dressed up because I respect them as their elected official for District 2. As a veteran, I've been to war, and now I feel like we're in a war zone. Like people are suffering PTSD. Mr. Miles and my fellow veteran, look me in the eye as a sign of respect, because I respect you. I have a goal by fall of 2024 that 1 or 2 of those seats are filled with the public elected official. Let's make that happen. Let's partner to make that happen. I commend each and every one of you for what you've done, for what you volunteered. I need everyone to remember, I live in 5th Ward, the so-called hood. But my son is graduating this year. He will go to one of the best schools in this nation. He will be in an ROTC program and be an officer just like Mr. Miles was. And so don't you ever forget that where you're from, it doesn't matter what these people think of you. The public education that you're receiving is a quality education, and you can do anything that you put your mind to. So believe in yourself. Those young people, I once was you. Continue to speak up. Be that adult that you needed when you were a child.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Christine McDaniel, followed by Jessica Campos and Yvette Robles. Ms. McDaniel? Ms. McDaniel? No? Ms. Campos? Jessica Campos? No? Yvette Robles? Ms. Robles? No? Miss Amber Mena Robles. Ma'am? Are you Yvette? Okay. Are you, do you know if Amber Mena Robles? Are you, okay, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, yes ma'am, please go ahead.
I'm a parent from Pure Elementary. Never thought I would be speaking in front of you all. But this is the deal. What's the deal with this school? Why are concerned parents terrified? Principals, administrative staff, teachers. Why are y'all breathing on their necks? What is happening to this learning environment being safe? Is it safe? Why do school staff feel threatened by parents asking questions and yet they feel like they need to request 7 police officers due to a coffee with the principal? This is upsetting. Why are teachers saying different things from what the administrators are saying about being a high-level education? Why the lies? Why the threatening? What's happening to freedom of speech? Why can't teachers tell us how they feel about this new education system? Last week, a nurse called me because one of my kids had a high heart rate, 143. 8 minutes later, a principal calls me that there's an ambulance for my child. My heart dropped. And in my surprise, it was a panic attack. Keep in mind, my child is a healthy child. Now, I need to look more into this school environment. It's causing for my child for the symptoms.
Thank you, ma'am. This is Amber Mena Robles. Hi, sweetie. Go ahead.
Hi, I am a student from Pure Elementary. My name is Amber. I too have a dream like Martin Luther King. Come on now. I want to voice, I am sad for the news educational system. Has to be easy for me. As the oldest child, I want to set up an example for my brothers. I want to be brave for my siblings.
Anything you want to say, Mom?
Just like, do you even see teachers smile anymore? Do you? I can see them inside crying from the inside. One time,
Okay, thanks. Okay. Our next speaker is Veronica Coatero, followed by Delynn Maples, followed by Jesse Heiner. Ms. Coatero, is she here? No? Ms. or Mr. Maples, Delynn Maples? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Delynn Maples, community member, a former HISD Teacher of the Year, parent, and active PTO member. What are your plans for the exodus of certified teachers that will come at both semester and end of school year? Surveys have shown it will be close to 50% or higher. With my master's in curriculum and instruction with emphasis in trauma and resilience in the classroom, I look at the current state of our district through this research lens. I know all children need to feel safe before they can learn, and all teachers need to feel safe before they can teach. Neither is happening. Clarify mixed messages on attendance policies for teachers. Stop using spot forms. They are not T-test aligned. Start providing quality curriculum to all students. What is being done is malpractice and harming all families and Houston as a community. Stop trauma-inflicting strategies. Fear never motivates educational excellence.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jesse Heiner. Jesse Heiner, followed by Evelyn Barron, and then Tara Bowers, and then Tina Lewis. Ms. Heiner? Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
Before I get started, you turning off the mics of the students that come here is just, it's never happened in the past and it should never happen again. Hello, I'm here to speak on behalf of an educator who could not be here today due to fear of retaliation. This person states, as an educator and parent of HISD, unfortunately I cannot be present to give this speech in person as it is well known by now that fear-mongering, bullying, and the threat of employment termination is the new norm of our new regime. This message is for the parents and students of HISD. We the teachers, are still here holding out on the small hope that your better sense, commitment, and understanding will fire the revolution that needs to take place in order to take back our educational system. Education is the staple of a flourishing civilization. What we are experiencing now is a perfect example of what happens when education is censored. While Mr. Miles is in the act of dismantling our great schools, firing our best principals and our best educators, all in the name of his perfect vision, we teachers ask for your support. My dear community members, will you help us? Will you help us fight? Sincerely, a very
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Evelyn Barron. Evelyn Barron, followed by Tara Bowers, and then Tina Lewis.
Hello, my name is Evelyn Barone. I am the communication intern for Collective Action for Youth. As a youth advocate and graduate of Worthing High School, my biggest fear is that our schools will no longer be a safe haven for students, nor a place that values youth voice. The new education system has taken place due to the state takeover, encourages a punitive culture where libraries are stripped away and replaced with disciplinary centers. There are restrictions on decent human rights, such as how many times and when students can use the bathroom. Under the state takeover, mostly schools in low-income communities are being transformed from an environment that supports positive student outcomes and creative learning to an environment that leaves students feeling negatively targeted, voiceless, and constantly exposed to punitive actions. Schools are made for education, not to prepare our students for incarceration. When will our schools be a place of community and learning again?
Thank you. Tara Bowers. Ms. Bowers will be followed by Tina Lewis, Paul Cabina, Karthik Sura, and Placido Gomez. Ms. Bowers.
Good evening. My name is Tara Bowers. I am a retired elementary school teacher of 30-plus years. I was an ACP intern cycle 9 and that was 1989. Shortly after that, I received my certification. I spent my first 11 years of teaching in HISD. I worked amongst some of the best educators and administrators I've ever met. I care about the learning community in HISD, which includes faculty, staff, children, and parents. Last March, I am present today to share my concern regarding school reform. Last March, I went on a learning tour to Havana, Cuba, to examine their early childhood department and family health care. Cuba was chosen because of their literacy ranking in the world, which is 5th or 6th. Families are very poor in Cuba. Texas has underserved and poor communities. While there, I learned the day a child is born that a child is assigned to a teacher if the mother is inclined to accept that assignment. Cuba spends $15,000 to $17,000 per child in education in 8 to 2. In Texas, the ratio in kindergarten is 22 to 1.
Thank you.
The reason why kids are not improving is not the teachers, it's
Thank
the
you.
politicians. That's the reason.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Miss Tina, our next speaker is Tina Lewis. Miss Lewis? Are you Tina Lewis? Please go ahead. Ma'am, please go ahead.
Good evening. I'm a former HISD student. I come on behalf of my little sister, who is a first grader at Alliance Elementary, because I'm concerned about how my sister is scared to answer a simple question just because the principal is always in the room checking and eyeing them. She imitates, she scares these kids. They're literally just kids. They just learned their ABCs. Being in a classroom where you're eyed all day will imitate every kid. My cousin had an accident because she was scared to ask. And if a student is scared, how do you want them to answer? And you're blaming these teachers because the student is scared to answer when you're in the room. If you're just staring at a student, she's a little girl. She's just a kid. Why are you staring at her? She made a kid cry over a piece of candy. They had a trunk or treat event. My mother paid for my little sister to experience that. I had a great experience at Alliance Elementary, and my little sister has to go through something that I never went through. And I don't want her to go through that because I had a great experience. Since 2004, my mom had us as a student there, and she never experienced this. So y'all need to change what y'all doing for these principals and how they educate these students.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Thank you. Our next speaker is Paula Kobina. Ms. Kobina? Ms. Kobina? Ma'am, is that you? Yes. Ms. Kobina, followed by Karthik Sura, and then Placido Gomez. Ms. Kobina, please go ahead.
Okay. This evening, the businessman and community member who is also a Houston Black retired police officer and Vietnam War veteran did accompany me. As you appointed members and superintendent are attempting to look as though you are earning your pay, NES and NESA schools are overworking assistant principals, counselors, and teachers and underutilizing their school campuses. Support service building parking lots are empty, gymnasiums and libraries are dormant, and students in the schools are between their guinea pigs to robotic state and the miseducation of the youth of Texas. To the Board of Managers, because you are lax in your attempt to help students, but you are gung-ho about earning your keep, the publicizing of the contents of the correspondence to you from the CEO of LaMelle and Associates is forthcoming in our city's local newspaper, Fox 26 News, and digitally. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Karthik Sura, followed by Placido Gomez. Karthik Sura? Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
My name is Karthik Sura. I'm a former Eastwood Academy teacher. On election day, I was poll greeting, and I mentioned to someone that was coming to the polls that I was a former teacher. This woman broke down for 30 minutes and talked to me about her experience, and she asked me to share this testimony today, anonymous, and I'm not going to say which polling location or where across HISD. The behavior and actions of the district and many building administrators has created a workplace environment that exists in a demoralized state of continued fear. Fear of failure to please, failure to know about the method of the day, failure to meet the unclear expectations of constant change from people who do not have the experience or content expertise. It has caused nothing but continued and unhealthy anxiety and fight for self-preservation, nothing but fear-mongering, gotcha tactics with a dose of uncontrollable anxiety. And this witch hunt on anyone that misses 4 days of school and has to sign a note that they did is just that, a total witch hunt with no justification or explanation why. Jury duty, field trips, hospitals, sicknesses, COVID, flu, all of these justified reasons, and people have the days and are having to be reprimanded. I could be absent the rest of the year with another 35 days left over. Am I going to take them? No, because my students need me.
Thank you, sir.
Please be the Lorax that speaks for us, the tree in each of the woods. You all need to listen. This is unacceptable.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Placido Gomez. Mr. Gomez.
In January, I'll officially be on the elected school board, and as the new trustee-elect, I want to talk about what I believe my role could be while the takeover is in place. One of my responsibilities is to gather feedback from the community about how policies have affected them and their kids, and bring that feedback to you, Board of Managers, and to you, the Superintendent. So I'd like to extend an open invitation to people in the audience to meet with me. I'm extremely easy to find, willing to listen to anybody who wants to make a good faith effort to do right by our students. This includes vocal opponents of the new administration who have examples of how policies and the implementation of some policies have had negative impacts on them and their students. It also includes people who are in support of the new administration who are rightfully outraged over the district's historic failure to adequately serve Black and Latino students. You'll find that I'm open-minded, extremely respectful, and ready to listen to anybody and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speakers are registered to address the board via Zoom. Ms. Smith, please identify and admit our speakers.
We've been joined by Jessica Campos in person,
Oh, Ms. Campos.
and then we also have Sarah Rivlin in person.
Was she a speaker to an item?
She was going to be a Zoom speaker.
Oh, okay. I see. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
This is nice. It almost feels like you guys are going to listen to me. So I know you guys heard these kids crying, because I know I heard them. Ms. Barron's cries, that it really hurts. Okay, so because I hear them, and it hurts. I can't ask you for equal education for our children, because the children in our community are faced with challenges that most of you up here will never experience in a lifetime. For the children in my community, school is a safe haven and a second home, in some cases, the only positive interaction they'll have in their entire life. The children in my community form deep relationships with those teachers and adults who inspire them and give them hope to learn and grow and get out of the hood, and someday help their families get ahead. You can't provide equality for these children, because you would have to experience our lives to even begin to understand what they need.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Rivlin. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
According to a recent survey, 14% of HISD teachers definitely plan to return next year. As a solution, tonight, Miles wants you to fund a program to mass recruit uncertified teachers from overseas. How ironic that Harold Dutton's motivation for the takeover law was uncertified teachers at Wheatley. Dutton was right. Uncertified teachers reading scripts won't save Wheatley or any HISD school. Who stands to benefit if our schools fail? Yes, prep charter school applications are up 500%. Real estate developers get access to valuable properties when schools are closed. The foxes are guarding the hen house. Speaking of which, how did Rick Campo become your de facto thought leader? If your goal is to actually save HISD, please wake up, please.
Thank you. I believe the rest of our speakers are via Zoom.
Leo Luna, please turn your camera on. You may begin. Leo Luna, please go ahead. Please turn your camera on. There you go. We can see you. You may begin.
Hello. I'm a community member that is deferring my voice in favor for a parent that's quite concerned about the dim future you're bringing on this board in enabling Miles. And this is a story she's afraid to share herself in fear of retaliation. This is in Spanish, so I do request for this to be translated as well. I did send information as well as the translation itself. But to continue, buenas tardes. Soy una mamá que tiene un estudiante en la escuela primaria Pew y estoy muy triste al enterarnos que en la escuela están corriendo a muy buenos maestros y personal. Un ejemplo siendo Ms. Jane.
Madam President, can you pause? I'm sorry. Do we have this in written form where someone's going to translate it, or do we need a live translator?
If a live translator is necessary,
Okay.
I would request it. If not, I do have it translated. I've also sent it over to y'all.
You do have it translated? Do we
I
have a
do, and
translator?
I've-
Is she still here? Hold on, just sir, if you could start over, then and pause. It's a little bit complicated because you're on Zoom, but we're gonna work it out. Where's the translator? Of
course.
Okay, you got it. Can you translate for us? Let her come up to the podium. Okay, thank you. Sir, if you could just pause every couple of sentences, then she can catch up, okay? All right, let's start over. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Hello, I'm a community member that is deferring my voice in favor of a parent that's quite concerned about the dim future you're bringing on this board in enabling Miles. And this is a story that she's afraid to share herself in fear of retaliation. Buenas tardes. Soy una mamá que tiene un estudiante en la escuela primaria Pew.
Good afternoon. I'm a mother who has a student in the elementary school, Pew.
Y estoy muy triste al enterarnos que en la escuela están corriendo a muy buenos maestros y personal.
And I'm very sad that in the school, they're kicking out or letting go good teachers and staff.
Un ejemplo siendo Ms. Jane.
Example of this is Miss James.
Ella ha sido una educadora maravillosa y se me hace completamente injusto que la corran.
This is an excellent educator, and it's totally unfair that she will be kicked out.
Cuando se enteró mi hija que había plan de despedir a Miss Jane, se puso muy triste y hasta no quiso comer.
When my daughter learned that Miss James is going to be let go, she got really sad and she didn't even want to eat.
No hay duda que esto afecta a los niños gravemente.
There's no doubt that this is affecting the children gravely,
Emocionalmente y mentalmente.
emotionally and mentally.
Cuando una maestra que dejó marca positiva al desarrollo de mi hija
When a teacher that has made a positive impact in my daughter,
en el desarrollo de mi hija y sus compañeros y compañeras es despedida tal como Miss Jane y muchos más.
that has made a positive impact in the development of my daughter and the peers. Do you mind repeating the last part, please?
Not at all. Es despedida tal como a Miss Jane y muchos más.
That she's being let go like herself and many others.
Si el desarrollo de los niños es importante,
Go ahead.
si el desarrollo de los niños es importante, por favor no echen en saco roto estas palabras.
If the education of the children is important, please don't let this fall in deaf ears.
Miss Jane, si escucha esto, estamos con usted.
Ms. James, if you're listening to this, we're with you.
Gracias por su tiempo y que pasen buen día.
Thank you for your time and have a good day.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Smith, you can admit the next speaker.
Jairo Jaime, please turn turn your camera
Hello?
on. You may begin.
Hello? Trying to use a microphone. I hope you can hear me. Good evening. I'm here to ask for your help and assistance to resolve an issue from
Sir,
last
I'm
year.
sorry to stop you, but can you put the microphone a little closer to your mouth? Or hold it
The
up a
campus where I
little?
was for a stipend. However, I did not receive that stipend due to absences. These absences, 3 of those absences occurred during a hurricane, a natural disaster, which prevented me from returning to work. I did submit an appeal. The appeal was approved. I received the stipend. However, the approval was rescinded. One explanation given to me was that the approval was supposed to go to someone with a similar name as mine. A second explanation to me was that a natural disaster did not fit under the criteria for approved absences. I am humbly asking for your assistance to resolve this issue up under every department. Now, I am here asking for your help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Natalie Reyna is not in Zoom. Lakita Barnes is not in Zoom. This is Dr. Pamela Bovelin. Dr. Bovelin, please turn your camera on. You may begin.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. Good evening. My name is Pamela Bovelin, and I'm speaking to you on behalf of the children of color who are being brainwashed to believe they must have badly scripted curriculum in large, oversized classrooms to learn. For them, spin bites are better than librarians. Humiliating their teachers with tedious coaching is justified to receive quality instruction. Only uncertified teachers can provide high-performance culture that they do not deserve. My children don't deserve enriched programming like other children in more affluent areas. Do not be fooled. Do not. The changing of the AF accountability system is to create more failing schools to enrich private school coffers. Listen to the voices. Know that your necks are on the line. I'm going to follow you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sister Mama Sonia, please turn your camera on. You may begin.
Ms. Lucas Roberts, is she in the Zoom room? She's just not coming on? Oh, there we are. Ma'am, please turn on your camera.
Okay. Sister Mama Sonia, I've turned it on.
We can see you now. Please go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Misuse us, disrespect us. Y'all don't really care about us. In the past, students have never had their mics turned off. This is very rude. Please don't do it again. Firing teachers, principals, and saying, well, if you don't like it, you can leave. Rude. Another incident of just complete rudeness. My children of color are the ones who are suffering. You board of managers, you're so afraid of F like mouth, you can't do anything. Grow some balls. Grow up and do something and quit hurting our children. Hate us, abuse us, disrespect us. Y'all don't really care about us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That concludes our hearing of registered speakers. Anybody who has arrived that wasn't here
Have an
before?
agenda speaker from item 15, Karina Quesada, in Zoom.
Ms. Quesada, please go ahead.
Karina Quesada, please turn your camera on. You may begin.
Hello.
Please turn your camera on so we can see you.
Ms. Quesada, please turn on your camera so that we can see you, and then you may begin. Thank you, ma'am.
Can you see me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Every year, this district asks for class waivers, gets them, and notifies parents. This year, you're asking for lots more because the toxic work culture will make teachers leave. Districts have always been able to get class size exemptions, so why use DOI? Instead of improving education by working to provide small class sizes, you're using DOI to be deceitful and not follow the law requiring parental notification. You all want zero accountability and transparency. It's clear those on the DOI committee don't know anything about education. I'm sure Dr. Teresa Tran had certified qualified teachers and small class sizes, but why does she think our kids are undeserving of that? Dr. Tran needs to stick to medicine. You don't see teachers telling doctors how to do their jobs, yet she and the rest of you think so little of the teaching profession that you believe just any Joe off the street could do it. And that's actually your plan. Allow just anyone off the street to teach our kids and not tell us about it.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. That concludes our hearing of registered speakers. Superintendent Miles, you have some data that you'd like to present to us about student achievement. Is that right? Sir, you have the floor. Are you going to go down there? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Madam President and members of the board, thank you for giving me some time to talk about the NWA scores. Before I get to that, just wanted to thank the staff there. A lot of them are here tonight on your right. Thank you, staff members, for being here. And you've been working really hard, stay the course, doing a great job. Also, you know, in the last 2 months, or last 3 months, I've been in about 50 schools. Thank you, board members, for coming along to several of them. I thank the DAC members for coming on several of the visits. I thank the legislators who've come on several visits and other community stakeholders who have come to on visits. Most recently, Benavides Elementary School, Bruce Elementary School, Q Henderson Elementary School, Shadydale Elementary School, Forest Brook Middle School, Holland Middle School, that was this week. Let's see, Pleasantville Elementary School, and Wheatley High School, North Forest High School. Lots of different schools. Most of them, yes, have been in the NES and NESA, but I think the reason why many of the members of the public are getting a good feel for how the NES schools are working, and my staff and I, and you can get a good feel is because we've been in the schools. We see how it's working. Teachers are working hard, no question. Principals are working hard, and the students are thriving. Yes, we have a long way to go in those 50 schools, and in the schools we haven't been in. I'm sure we're going to find some challenges and some distance to travel. So the reforms are working, and the kids are doing well, and the teachers are doing well. And I know that because I've been in the schools. You know that because you've been in the schools. So that's, there's an open invitation for the people who are really the detractors or naysayers to come on and visit with me and look in the schools rather than just taking hearsay information. Let me go over the NWA scores. I have said, and we forget sometimes, that there's a reason why we need a change. This is the last generation of kids in school before the skills gap is locked in. And I say that because our data suggests the same thing. I'm not going to go over these slides here right now, but I want to go over the NWEA. Whether we're talking about the NAEP data, which I presented before, or the STAR scores, which I've also presented before, we know that there's an achievement gap. It is a tale of two districts. One district we have one set of schools that are doing really well, and then another set of schools that are not doing quite as well. And that difference between achievement is raised starkly in the achievement data, no matter what test we're talking about. So now I want to look at the NWEA MAP assessments. We started across the district, and we tested the students in September on the NWEA MAP. We'll do middle of the year in January, and then we'll do end of the year in May. And for some of the board members, these scores may not be familiar, so I wanted to explain what it means and where we are at the beginning of the year on our NWEA MAP assessments. NWEA is an assessment taken by about 6 million students across America. Good sample size, a lot of districts use them, and some of our schools have used them in the past, and now all of them will use them, so that we can compare schools, and we can compare this to the STAR exam as well. NWEA is based on what's called RIT scores. So they're just a metric to describe how students are performing and whether or not they are at grade level or not. So you see on the left-hand side there you have the U.S. beginning of year scores. That's the average RIT points. And then you see the end of the year scores on a typical year for the U.S. And if you subtract the two numbers, you get what is the expected growth for the average student in the United States. So for example, in third grade, the average growth is 10.5 RIT points. So we can compare ourselves because it's not just the Houston schools that we're competing against, or the Texas schools. We're also competing against our colleagues across the nation and actually globally. So you see, this year, HISD scores 182 RIT points for third grade. That is close to the national average as far as beginning of the year, but it's about 4, almost 5 points behind, which means that our students on the whole are about half a year behind other third grade students. For our black students, you see all the way to the right, we're at 180 beginning of the year, which is about 6.6, almost 7 points behind, which is about 2/3 behind the average third grade student. If you go down to 8th grade, for example, the average growth is about 4 points in the year. The average kid in America starts at 218. We're behind in our overall score. If you look at 212, that's 6 points behind the average 8th grade student. And then demographically, you can see that our white students are doing better than the average 8th grade student, and our black students are doing about 7 points behind the average 8th grade student, which translates to almost twice as many years as the average 8th grade student. That's how you read this graph. You have it in a document, so I'm not going to go through all of it. I just want you to see how we are relative to our other students in the United States. This is reading, and in math, we're also behind. So if you look at, again, HISD is behind the U.S. And then if you look at our black students, we're even further behind. And our Hispanic students as well. In 8th grade, our black students are scoring 215, our Hispanics scoring 216. We are about almost 10 points behind, which translates into 2 years. So that's where we are. That's not much different than the NAEP and not much different than the STAR score. Again, no matter how we cut it, we have to admit that we are behind. And we've been behind for, 2 decades. We looked at the STAR scores again today from 2017 to now, and we haven't improved that much in reading and in math. So there is a need to do transformative work. Let me show you a couple other slides, and then I'll be done because you have lots of slides in your packet. But let me go to the percentile. This is what's meant by percentile, right? In a normal distribution of 6 million kids, you're going to have a bell curve. The more kids you have, the more defined or closer to that bell curve you're going to have. And there's regression towards the mean, so that 50% is average. So the 50th percentile is where the middle of that blue curve is. That dotted line is somewhere around the 65th percentile, which is where the average white student is in America on these exams. So if we look at our percentile, so obviously in the US, again, the middle of the pack, the average is 50th percentile. HISD's percentile average is the third column there. And then again, you can look at our white students. Where is the percentile for them? It's well above average. That's great. Let's keep that going. Let's keep that high. Let's not diminish that at all. Our Hispanic students and our black students are well behind in the percentile ranking. We are at the 43rd percentile, a little bit less for our Hispanic students. Our goal is to push that to the 60th percentile over time. But it's going to be tough because this is the percentile rating that was the same percentile as 1998 in the country. So this is reading, and this is math. You can see that math were lower. Again, I'll go back. This is reading, and this is math. So percentile-wise, we're further behind than the average kid in the United States. And you can see, again, just like NAEP, just like STAR, the difference between our white and Hispanic students and our white and black students, that is too great a gap. That is too great a gap. That has been the way it has been for a while. And that's why we need to do really transformative work. The work that we're doing is tough, but I've been in the schools, and I want to reiterate that. We are going to move the needle, and we're doing it in a way that's respectful. Ask the kids. Let's have some professional behavior, please.
Can we have some order, please? Thank you.
I've been in the schools. They need to be in the schools as much as I have and as much as you have to see our kids thriving and having fun at their dyads, having fun learning in class. Not all the instruction is where it needs to be, but it's improving. And I really appreciate the teachers and the principals working hard to do that despite some of the detractors that try to diminish their work. Any questions, board members, on the NAEP data?
Any questions, board members?
Yes, just one
Martinez.
question. At some point, will we be able to see kind of well, I guess we will, the breakdown, special ed? I know that's a population that's part of the recommended constraint, so I assume at some point we'll look at that as well.
Yes, and we can break it down even more. You see, I didn't cover the NES and NESA just for the sake of time.
Yes,
like I said, I think you have like 30 or 40 charts in your document. But yes, we can get that to you.
Mr. Campo?
Just a suggestion on the first set of data, I get the percentiles really easy to understand, but that first set where you have to
The RIP points?
you have to translate for us what a 218 versus a 228 is, and that's 2 grade levels. It might be helpful, rather than showing that hard data, show the data, but then put the reality of what it means on the schedule so people can understand it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good suggestion.
Any other questions? No? Can we go back to the earlier slide with the data about the scoring the points?
The RIP
Not
points?
the percentile, yeah, the RIP points. This is a general question. You can look at any of them, it doesn't really matter. I'm seeing between 3rd and 4th grade, the end of year from 3rd diminishes to beginning of year 4th. Is that the summer slide? Is that what's represented there, or is
No,
that
so
something different? It's a
Thanks for
different
asking.
school
but
population?
It's not a linear graph.
Okay.
So it's probably a little bit more logarithmic. So you can see that the difference in RIP points between grade changes.
Okay,
It's not constant.
I see. Okay. Okay. No other questions? Thank you, Superintendent,
you, ma'am.
very much. Okay. Next, the board will consider action items on the agenda. Board policy requires board members to abstain from all discussion and votes pertaining to contracts that might involve a conflict of interest. Board policy BBFA local defines conflict of interest as any circumstance that could cast doubt on a board member's ability to act with total objectivity with regard to the district's interests. We have 2 items pulled from the consent agenda for discussion. They are approval to waive board policy BF local, board policies, and approval of proposed revisions to board policy AE local, educational philosophy on first reading, that's item 4. And the other item is item 5, approval of the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. May I have a motion to approve item 4, approval of proposed revisions to board policy AE local, educational philosophy, second reading? I think we've got the wrong screen up.
System is not on.
Our system is not the voting system. I can take an oral motion. That might drive Emily crazy. Who? My computer. Oh, on the right side of the microphone deal.
That's a new one.
All right. Is everybody there? Got it? Okay. I've got a motion to approve by Mr. Campo. Is there a second? Okay, I have a motion to approve item 4 by Rick Campo and a second by Ms. Mendoza. Are there questions or comments from my colleagues? I have a couple of things I'd like to say about this, if I can. First, I'd like to acknowledge the importance of AE Local to guide the district in what work is going to be happening on a going forward basis. I want to acknowledge the Community Engagement Committee who did work to ensure that we heard from the community in preparation for our deliberations on AE Local. I appreciate the community's input through many meetings and surveys that were conducted and received by the board and thoughtfully put together by our coach. Also note the 2 workshops and good conversations by board members. Appreciate and acknowledge the preparation and provision by board members of language for use and consideration over these 2 workshops. And I also would like to acknowledge the work of the administration, the superintendent, and your staff for providing us with information related to the goals and constraints. Other than that, are there any other questions or comments my colleagues would like to make? Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Madam President. And I echo that statement for the administration and your team, Superintendent. I know we requested a lot of data and your team was great, Dr. Matney. Thank you so much for your support in this as well. I do have a question with regard to goal number 3, and that's the CCMR goal. I know we spent plenty of time discussing which one to do. and I know we got closer to where we wanted to, right, as best as we can. Can you, Dr. Matney or Superintendent, whichever wants to answer this question, compared to other states, do you know like what percentage, or at least across the state, which percentage of districts use this particular goal? Because I think I want the community to know that from a board perspective, we are looking at greater outcomes when it comes to CCMR. So I think that's a measure we should speak about a little bit to say that we are doing our best, but I want to hear from your perspective, Superintendent.
And Dr. Matney, please feel free to approach the podium and provide information if you have some. I don't have any direct information or comparison on other districts with regard to the exact percentage, but I can tell you this, that most of my colleagues, most of the superintendents in districts are looking closely at Career Tech Ed and CCMR. They recognize that that's a really good measure where we need a lot of work and that our kids need to be successful post high school, and that's a good measure of that success after high school. So I know it's part of the professional practice. I don't have any specific data for you, though.
I have worked with colleagues from around the nation. For example, Atlanta was working through this process on a similar CCMR goal. It's definitely a national concern to make sure that students are ready, not just when they're in our buildings, but once they leave as well. So I do have anecdotal information from my colleagues that I've worked with around the nation.
Okay. And then I just have one more question. I know part of the original ask was about matriculation in colleges. Can you discuss like what challenges we have with obtaining that information? Because I know that's one of the asks that we had.
So we do have two ways that we do gather that information. One is around just students that enroll in Texas post-secondary institutions. So we do get that data from Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. But we also subscribe to National Student Clearinghouse, and it's an organization that works with around 98% of post-secondary institutions around the country. And we submit our student file, and then they tell us where they are, and then we follow them through 6 years post our high school graduation. So we are able to see where do our students go, public, private, 2-year, 4-year institutions, and then we get reports on did they stay their spring semester of their freshman year? Did they return after freshman year for their second year? So we are able to see the trends at the district level and by our high school campus.
Okay. Do we track that? I mean, as a district, I don't know we call it being a progress measure, but will we track it in some other way, Superintendent?
Dr. Matney, if you can explain how we track it, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So that's a key piece of data in our CCMR department. They're constantly looking at that to identify trends specifically. So one specific example is how many of our students that we deem college ready are not enrolled at HCC right away, and how can we go and reach out to our students who have graduated and help support them in getting enrolled. We know they're ready. We know that they actually applied and got accepted, but why are they not there? So we do a lot of outreach there. And then also just following up on that, like that year 2. So doing outreach, why are our students leaving after the first year? What does that look like? And then interacting with our college partners to see what they're experiencing with our students.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Discussion? No? Okay, then please vote on the motion to approve item 4, approval of proposed revisions to board policy AE Local Educational Philosophy, second reading.
Madam President, if you could read the item as written here.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Or on your screen.
Oh, up here. That would be a lot easier. Okay. Read the motion? Oh, I thought I just did. Okay, approval to waive board policy BF Local board policies and approval of proposed revisions to board policy AE Local Educational Philosophy on first reading. We've got a motion pending. Okay, very good. Please vote.
I see thumbs.
He has to record theirs. You got it? All done? Okay. Okay, 7 in favor, 2 absent. The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 5, approval of the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023? There's a motion by Mr. Martinez and a second by Ms. Flowers. Mr. Campo, I believe you have a comment from the audit committee on this matter.
Yes, I do. So what I'd like to do to start with, before introducing the exact item, though, is to talk a little bit about the audit committee. Our audit chair is on Zoom right now, so she had asked me to do this, Jeanette Garza-Lindra. So nice to see you up there. I just wanted to start out and talk about the audit committee process. So the audit committee met, and the audit committee is made up of Adam Ravon, Jeanette, and myself. And we met on October 30th, and we looked at our committee charter, and we're revising the committee charter. Probably will be done by the next time. We also reviewed the 2023 financial audit update by Weaver. We had also a meeting with our outsourced internal auditor. The internal auditors audit process was outsourced by the previous board to RMS US LLP. They went through their fiscal year 2024 internal audit plan about what we're going to be auditing. We also reviewed audit reports that were issued since the last audit committee, a bunch of different types of reports. And we also reviewed the ethics and compliance update. And I know that was mentioned earlier. So the audit committee reviews all the ethics and compliance issues, whether they ultimately, it's the audit committee's responsibility to review those and make sure they're handled properly. With that, we have this item on the agenda, and let me just preface it with this. Within 150 days of the close of each fiscal year, which would be roughly the end of this month, school districts must furnish the Texas Education Agency with a copy of the district's annual audit. To that end, on October 30th, the audit committee met with auditors from Weaver and the district staff and the finance department to review the annual comprehensive financial report. The audit report issued the audit report issued the district a clean, unmodified opinion with no material weaknesses. There was one significant deficiency reported, and that significant deficiency related to internal controls over financial reporting and of the accrual of 2 invoices. There were 2 invoices totaling $1.3 million for services performed prior to June 30th, 2023. They were not properly recorded in the accounts payable expenditures. The district's systems of internal control did not properly accrue for these invoices in the appropriate period. District staff reported to the audit committee that implementation of new procedures and/or practices were already in place to address this deficiency, and the deficiency was not material to the financial statements. The audit committee therefore recommends acceptance of the district annual comprehensive financial report. I would also say that I think we have applied for the. Remind me if it's the 44th year where we have the HISD has won the excellence for reporting. We are likely to get that again this year, which is really good. So all the information is in that document. It's a couple hundred pages for your late night reading.
Thank you, Mr. Campo. Any questions or comments from any of my colleagues on the audit report or the financial report? Okay, then when it pops up, let's vote. And this is a vote on that the school board approve the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023, effective November 10th, 2023. Are all votes in? Oh. Sorry, 2 yays.
I want to do one last thing.
Before we
After you
announce the vote?
No, answer the vote.
Okay.
Before you go to the next item.
Okay, the vote passes 7 in favor, 2 absent. Mr. Kemba, please go ahead.
One last thing. I just want to thank the finance team and all the team that was involved in accounting and all the people that put together that comprehensive report because it is comprehensive. And if you ever want to know anything about HISD for the last 10 years, you go to that report. It's very good, detailed information. And I know our team worked late hours with Weaver to get that done. So thank you for all your hard work.
We are now ready to consider the remainder of tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the balance of tonight's agenda by consensus? A motion by Mr. Martinez and a second by Ms. Mendoza. Is there any discussion? Okay, please vote. Okay. 7 in favor, 2 absent. The motion to approve the balance of tonight's agenda by consensus passes. We are now ready to hear any reports and comments from board members. Are there any reports from board members this evening? No? Okay, thank you. Mr. Superintendent, anything else that you'd like to share with the board at this time?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. At this time, the board will recess to close session under Chapter 551 of Texas Government Code Open Meetings Act, subsections 551.004 through 551.089. Should board final action, vote, or decision on any matter considered in the closed session be required, such final action, vote, or decision shall be taken at the open meeting covered by this notice upon the reconvening of this public meeting or at a subsequent public meeting of the board upon notice thereof. The board has recessed to closed session at 7:28 p.m. on November 9th, 2023. This meeting is reconvened at 8:53 p.m. We are now ready to consider items discussed in closed session. Are there any motions?
I have 3 motions.
Yes, please go ahead with motion 1.
Would you like for me to take them separately? Yes, all right.
Yes, please.
I move that the board approves the closed session personnel agenda, including specifically that the board approves proposed terminations of continuing term and probationary contracts and authorize the superintendent or designee to provide notice of same, that the board approves suspensions without pay for continuing term and probationary contracts and authorize the superintendent or designee to provide notice of same, that the board approves withdrawals of contract recommendations, and that the board approves issuance of final orders on contract terminations and non-renewals as discussed in closed session, effective November 10th, 2023.
Is there a second? I have a motion by Board Member Mendoza and a second by Rick Campo. Please vote. We have a yes from Ms. Cruz Arnold. I don't think so. That's 6 in favor, 3 absent. The motion passes. Ms. Mendoza, you had a second motion?
I move that the board grant the superintendent the authority to negotiate, execute, and amend all documents pertaining to an easement with CenterPoint Energy Resources Corp., DBA, CenterPoint Energy, Texas Gas Operations for upgrades to an existing gas line at NQ Henderson Elementary School.
Is there a second? I have a motion by Ms. Mendoza and a second by Mr. Campo. Please vote. Ms. Cruz is a yes. Voting is complete. 6 in favor, 3 absent. The motion passes. Do you have a third motion, Ms. Mendoza?
Yes, I move that the board grant the superintendent the authority to negotiate, execute, and amend all documents pertaining to a joint use agreement between HISD and the City of Bel Air for the use of the parking lot and playground space at Condit Elementary School.
Is there a second? A motion by Ms. Mendoza and a second by Mr. Martinez. Please vote. A yes from Ms. Cruz Arnold. That's 6 in favor, 3 absent. The motion passes. Are there any other motions following closed session?
Yes, I have a motion.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I move that the board approve the First Amendment to the superintendent's employment contract as presented in closed session, including the evaluation instrument to be used to measure the superintendent's performance and the performance incentive pay plan, both of which are attached to and incorporated in the First Amendment effective November the 9th, 2023.
I have a motion by Mr. Campo and a second by Board Member Flowers. Unless there's any further, please vote. Yes from Ms. Cruz Arnold. Thank you. That's 6 in favor, 3 absent. Are there any other motions following closed session? I don't believe so. Okay, thank you very much. I received a copy of remarks from our colleague Jeanette Garza-Lindner related to the District of Innovation Committee. She wanted to make a report. Thank you, Emily, for giving this to me. As a member of the District Innovation Committee, this is the words of Jeanette. She wanted to report that we presented the committee's work to the District Advisory Committee and engaged in a thoughtful, productive discussion of the proposed exemptions. HISD is overdue to be a district of innovation, and the DOI committee believe the plan that has been drafted with the DAX feedback will support improved student achievement across the district. The committee met again today to analyze and incorporate the DAX feedback into the final version of the plan. The DOI committee looks forward to the plan being posted tomorrow for public comment and to come before the board in the December meeting. The next regular board meeting will be on December 14th, 2023. There being no further business, this meeting is officially adjourned at 8:58 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.